Superman sucks, is what people say when they don't really understand the character. Superman existed for a very long time. Probably going to exist longer than most of us are going to be alive. And I don't think that's because of corporate manipulations or marketing schemes. I think there's something core to his character that we love about Superman. Maybe not everybody. But there's an argument that people constantly make is that because he's so powerful and invulnerable, there's no interesting stories you can have with him. It's always going to be some sort of power fantasy or no tension within the story. I think that because Superman existed for this long, it says something about the character. People interpret him as this mass murderer or brooding dark superhero because they can't imagine that there's a guy that grew up on a farm with some people who adopted him to be just good. Whenever challenges come towards him and whatever evils, destructions, machinations of maniacs, he will always try to do the right thing, whether he has powers or not. And I think even after so many years of storytelling, there's still plenty to tell with a character like this. Because, in my eyes, even as a kid, I saw Superman as this force, this person that just tries their absolute damnedest to help people in the best ways possible, using his infinite power to help people. As I was growing up, I started to see people interpret him as a god or some completely omnipotent, benevolent being, or he must have some sort of evil alternative motive. Essentially, in real life, the way I hear people argue about Superman is the same way Lex Luthor argues about Superman when he first introduced to him. It's just no way someone with that much power can be good. Look at The Boys or Injustice or even Man of Steel, where it's very obvious that when they're faced with a character like this, they must do other things to him in order to make it acceptable in their eyes of what is needed to be done to be told a story. But I think it's very obvious the absolute definition of Superman is what is distilled into a 2-hour movie, the Christopher Reeve movie, where it's just a guy from a farm growing up, working in the city, using his powers for good, and wants to make people to trust him and try his best to help people. The very song itself tells you everything you need to know about Superman. And I guess people can find that boring, and that's a legitimate criticism. But I think when it spills over saying that that's why Superman doesn't work at all is insane to me. Because we've seen the opposite happen, where now we have My Adventures with Superman. It's obvious that people wanted these effects again, where Clark is a good person and try to help people, save a cat or a tree, because that's what he was before he even had all the powers. And I think the best interpretations, other than the Christopher Reeves one, is definitely the Justice League. I think in those shows, it's very obvious that a story comes from the people who challenges him, the people who pushes him. That's what makes it interesting. I think even Smallville, the TV show, understood that about the character. Him growing up being naive or misguided, that's fine, but also the people around him, like Lex, pushing him in certain directions, really testing who he is. And I think that's what makes a good Superman story, rather than you trying to say, oh, the character must be depressed or a maniac or a murderer, see, or whatever. And I think as people get older, I think people are going to appreciate Superman a lot more, much like I have. As I view in the real world, there might not be anyone like Superman, but we can still strive towards him. A person that in the face of all these evils will always try to do good. And I think when I was drawing him, that's what I was trying to capture as much as I can. But I still don't think I've gotten there. When you think of Superman, there's an image that pops in your head, whatever, he's a different person, different art style, whatever. But I don't think I captured that. And I think that is what I'm missing in terms of character design. When you look at a face or chest piece, something, It immediately interprets the character, immediately gets the character. I think that's what I need to work on. But other than that, the colors came out great. I'm working more on my shadows and the muscles, but once I get that character design bit down, I think it's going to be excellent. Personally, if you want to watch some Superman stuff, even My Adventures of Superman, I would actually just watch the Superman anime series. The My Adventures of Superman is in its infancy. I think they're on the right path. I think they can get there if they keep rolling. But it definitely feels like there's some push and pull that they still need to be done. Especially with the villains. Not great how they did the villains. Them all being from the same origins and everything. But I want to see that grow. There's potential there. But if you want to watch a Superman project that you might actually really like from the get-go, watch the original Superman animated series, or watch the Justice League, or watch the movie, the Superman movie, because, again, by music alone, it's the best interpretation of Superman. Anyway, next week, we're going to be looking at something different. I'm going to try to keep this more consistent. We're going to be looking at a darker hero. A hero that stands up for justice, but does things in a much more violent fashion.